Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Rachel, and I'm the Research Engagement Strategist with UBC ARC. Before we begin, a quick housekeeping note. The session is being recorded, and the recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel afterward. Let me walk you through today's agenda. We'll start with the opening remarks from UBC ARC's director, Steve Condi, who will speak about the vision behind the new access management portal and why we're transitioning to this new tool. After that, Jacob Boucher, Senior Systems Analyst, will provide a walkthrough of the portal. He will highlight key features and demonstrate how to create projects, request allocations, and manage users within the system. We'll wrap up with a Q&A at the end, so feel free to jot down any questions you have as we go, and we'll make sure there's time to address them when we get to the Q&A portion of this presentation. And just a quick note, the links on the slide are clickable, so you're welcome to click them and follow along in real time. And with that, I'll hand things over to Steve to begin with his introduction. Over to you, Steve.
Thanks, Rachel. Hopefully everyone can hear me all right. Thank you. All right, so a shared goal within all of ARC services to ensure that we support the pace of research rather than slowing it down. One of the ways that we can do this is by looking at access management. So as the research teams grow and evolve, adding collaborators or adjusting access can sometimes introduce delays between intent and execution. This portal is designed to make managing access to research compute feel like part of your normal workflow rather than a separate administrative step. It represents a shift in a model from where changes are requested and queued to one where teams can manage and move forward directly. The goal here is straightforward. Reduce administrative lead time so you can focus on discovery by removing the forms and emails and moving towards a more user-controlled environment. In other words, shifting away from request and wait to manage and execute. Next slide, please. So what does moving from request and wait to manage and execute mean? In practical terms, this changes how research teams interact with ARC resources. Previously, actions like requesting allocations or adjusting team access typically move through forms and email exchanges, whereas this portal brings those actions into a single environment where these changes can be managed directly by your team. This includes managing users within the team, delegating responsibility where appropriate, and of course, making access changes in near real time. The intent is to reduce turnaround time for routine changes, such as onboarding and new team members or collaborators, without adding complexity. So with that context, I would now like to pass you over to Jacob, our Senior Systems Analyst, who will walk you through how this works in practice. Jacob, over to you.
All right, thank you. First I'm going to go over some of the basic features that we have as part of the portal, as well as how you can do common tasks. And then I'll do a short walkthrough of our actual live portal showing how to add a user to an allocation. So to start with, our website is access.arc.ubc.ca. And when you connect to it, you'll be presented with the standard UBC login page. And to connect, you'll need a UBC credential that is an employee account. And you also will need to be connected to either a UBC network natively or the UBC MyVPN service. Next slide. So to kind of understand how the system is built up, we have effectively everyone will have a project. And underneath those projects, you can have a sockeye or Chinook allocation. You can think of projects as a container that has all of your allocations through ARC, as well as any of the researchers or colleagues that you wish to assign and give access to those allocations. A basic workflow at a high level is, if you're a new user, you'll create a project. You can make a request for an allocation, and then you can add any of the team members that you wish to have access to that allocation through the portal. Next slide. So to start us off, if you log in to the service and you're completely new to ARC services, you'll be presented with this splash page that has a brief overview of kind of the steps of adding users and requesting resources. So what we're going to do is we go to, at the top, there's a drop down that says project, and we select the projects button. Now, if you're already a member using ARC services, you won't need to do this step as we've already created a project for you when we migrated your data from our previous system. Next slide. So once you're at the projects, if you do not have one, you can click on the Add a Project button, and this will take you to a form. And this is a very short form. Basically, you can submit whatever you'd like for a project title. This is an identifier purely for you so that you know what this body of work will be. And then you can provide a short description of your research work around what you intend to do with this project. Additionally, below that, we have a department selector. By default, this is going to look at your CWL and determine which department you're in. But if you're managing a project or working collaboratively and you need to select a different one, you can use this drop-down menu to pick a different project or pick a different department to associate this project with. So now once you've completed that project, since all it is basically a container for allocations and users, right now you don't have access to any resources. To get access to a resource, you go into you go and navigate into the project itself. So by going from the project menu to projects, selecting the project that you wish to create an allocation under. And if you scroll down on the page, there'll be a green button that will say request resource allocation. When you click on that, it will take you to our resource request form, and it will have a number of questions that you will fill out. And you'll need to select whether you'd like a sockeye or a Chinook allocation at the top. Once you've worked through and answered all of the questions, you can submit that, and it will create a request to ARC to review and approve your allocation request. And once that is approved on our end, or if we have any questions, we'll reach back out to you to let you know that the allocation has been approved. So once you have both a project and allocation, you can always view them on the home page. So below the blue instruction box, there is the section for your projects that are associated with you and any allocations that you're associated with. Either title is clickable and it'll take you to a page that has a list of just those projects or just those allocations, as well as if you would like to view any of the details specifically about a project or allocation, you can either, for the projects, click on the name, or in the case of allocations, click on the green active button. So if you need to manage details about an allocation or a project, you can, as I mentioned, you can click on your homepage to view those. And in the case of projects, the main things that you'll be adding here will either be updating your information. So if you'd wish to rename your project or provide different details about the research being done, or if you wish to add additional users, that can be done on the project page. And we'll get into adding users and managing them in just a moment. Additionally, if you wish to request new allocations under the same project, you can do that much as before, where you click on the request resource allocation. Generally, we request most researchers to have one sockeye and up to one Chinook allocation under their project. But if you have a good reason for having multiple separate allocations, we may reach out to you to confirm it if you submit a second one. Now, underneath the allocations page, you can see the details about what your current status is for your allocation, as well as anything that's been requested. So in this case, if we click on that active button, we'll be taken to an allocation detail page, and we can see both the project that it's associated with, as well as some of the responses that have been submitted via the forum. So in this case, it's a medium risk of the researcher data that contains controlled data, and we can see what was requested as far as the storage requirement. Below that, we have a display showing your project storage and scratch quota, and that is your quotas that have been assigned to the allocation by the ARC staff. Now, to add a user, as I mentioned, you can navigate to the project page, and if you scroll down, there'll be an Add Users button. When you click on this, it'll take you to a page that will let you search and add, and anyone that you add will need to have a valid and active UBC CWL. So once you go to the click to add the user, you'll be taken to this page, and it'll have two options to search for users to add. The first one is via the UBC CWL. So if you know a user's exact CWL, you can type that in and hit search, and it will display just that user because it'll be an exact match. Additionally, if you have a list of multiple users' CWLs, you can put all of those in and search them all at once with the UBC CWL option, and it'll present all of them. The other option is if maybe you don't know your colleague's exact CWL, but you know either their email address or their full name. If you select the second option, you can search by one of those terms, either an email address, a last name, or a first name. And note that when you're using this option, it will only take the first item that you put in before any spaces or new lines. So if you try to type somebody's full name with first name and last name, it will just search the first name. Once you've searched up who you'd like, you can select each of those with the little checkbox next to the name, as well as any allocations you wish to add them to. And next to each user, there is a role selector that I'll get into in just a moment, whether they should be a user or manager on the project. And when you're ready, you can click Add Selected Users to the project. One thing to note is on this page, this is primarily for adding users for sockeye allocations. Chinook's data access does not use a standard user interface or user connection to grant access to files. That needs to be managed through the Globus interface, and as such, you can't add users via the ARC Access Management portal. Now, since we've added a user, say we have somebody who is no longer working with my research project or my lab. To remove a user from any project or any allocations, you can click on the project page and go down and click the Remove Users button. This will give you a list of all of the users currently in the project other than yourself, and you can check the boxes next to them to remove the selected users from the project. Now, I mentioned very briefly previously about the user roles, and this role is basically something very similar to what we previously had as a designated contact, and by default, users are added with the user status. If you wish to elevate somebody to the manager status, you can do that by clicking the little person with a pencil next to them and adjusting their role and saving. Now, note that if you promote someone to being a manager underneath a project, they will have effectively the same rights as you, the PI. So if you would like somebody to have the ability to add users, remove users, and request allocations, you can do so by making them a manager. And also, by being a manager, they are guaranteed to be sent notifications around allocation expiry or any changes to the allocation by the emails on our system. So now I'm going to give a very brief walkthrough of Portal. So right now, you can see I've connected. I've already logged into access.arc.ubc.ca. And we can see we have kind of our intro messaging here, as well as any projects and allocations I'm a member of. So if I would like to view, say, one of these projects, I can click through it. I can see, in this case, some details about this project. Since this is an internal administrative one, I can see the other members of my allocation. And in this case, I'm not the PI for the allocation, but I'm a user alongside other users. Now, say we wanted to add a user to a project. I'll select one that I do have access to, and I click the Add Users button. So in this case, if I were to search up my information, I can see I search by my CWL, and I can find my matching username, first name, last name, and email. So in this case, I'd like to add them to the socket allocation that's part of this project. And if I click Add Selected Users to Project, it'll let me know that I've added one user to the project. And if I look at the socket allocation here, we can see that I was also added today to this allocation as well. Similarly, if I'd like to remove users, I can either remove them from just an allocation, or if I go back to the project itself, I can click here and remove someone, and it will remove them from both the project and any allocations that are associated with it. And that's pretty much the very basics. It takes about 5 minutes for a change in users to be propagated onto our system. So it will happen automatically. It may happen in a much shorter time period, but depending on how busy our system is and how long it takes to propagate the update of user information to it, it may be up to 5 minutes. And with that, I'll hand it back to Rachel to wrap us up and start our Q&A session.
All right, thank you, Jacob. So this brings us to the Q&A portion of today's session. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to ask any questions you may have. You can type in your questions into the chat, or if you prefer, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask the question directly. No questions too small if anything wasn't clear, if you want to see a step again, or if you're wondering about how certain workflow applies to your own research group. This is a great time to bring it up. So we're here to help. Go ahead and jump in whenever you're ready. I see there's a question in the chat is, I don't have a new, I'm just gonna read it. I don't have the new project button. What should I do? Thank you.
Okay, so if you're able to log into the portal and you click on the projects tab at the top and go to projects, it should have the option in a blue button that says add a project. If you do not, oh, yep.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have, I only have view and view archived project.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I click on that, there's no archived project that happened to, yeah.
So one thing by default, if when you log into the portal, it will check your employment status with UBC. And if you are a faculty member at UBC, it'll automatically grant you rights to add a project. If you're not currently a faculty member, by default, we don't grant access to creating projects to non-faculty. But if you believe that you should have access to create one and you are able to hold research grants at the university, contact ARC support, and we'll be able to elevate your account to be a PI and allow you to add a project.
Okay, thank you.
Jacob, there's another question from Roger. Are user permissions automatically changed to allow PI access when a user is removed?
So when a user is removed, it will automatically, I suppose, just as a clarification on this one, do you mean removed from the ARC Access portal, or do you removed from being a member at UBC?
I can clarify. So right now, when a user is removed, I have sometimes problems with being able to read the files that are left by the user and also to clean them up. That's often a problem.
Okay. So when you remove a user from your project, what will happen is it will create a ticket internally with the ARC support team, and they will begin reviewing the offboarding procedure if they're no longer able to access the system. And that also involves contacting the PI to ensure that any files that need to be preserved are either granted access to the PI or are removed if they're no longer needed. In this case, it's not automatic by the system itself, but it does create an automated ticket with our onboarding staff to ensure that when a user is removed, their files are properly handled.
Great, thank you.
Hi there. I have a quick question. It relates to kind of now this idea of moving forward and setting up projects. Right now, we just have one project, which was kind of meant to hold most of our big microscopy data and then also backup for other research projects in the lab. We were thinking to create something new, if advised, that would mean storage automatically, say, from a microscopy slide scanner as a new project. Is that how you're now recommending we do that? So if I want to be pulling all of our data, say, off of one certain piece of equipment and having it stored until it kind of gets post-processed, etc., would that be something that we could use the project for? Or how does it work in terms of intentions?
Yeah. So basically the project, as I mentioned earlier, is a container for your allocations, and it's kind of a way to group things based off of the research project itself. So if you have one research project and you just need a second endpoint to store data on, so I assume you're looking for a Chinook allocation for data storage, right?
Yeah.
In that case, you can use the same project and under there basically request a second allocation for Chinook. And under that same project, then you can manage both your primary Chinook allocation as well as the secondary one for the device data storage.
Okay. And is that kind of an advice? Would you recommend that we do that when we have different types of data coming off of different devices? I don't know.
That is up to you as to how you'd like to organize your Chinook allocation. It is possible where, say, you wanted specific access controls on one set of data versus the other. It may be necessary in that case then to make a second allocation so that you can have tighter controls between the two.
Yes.
And in that case, I would recommend it.
Perfect. I agree. That's probably exactly why we need it. Thank you.
Yep. Also, I saw Anwar's hand is raised. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you very much for this. Really helpful. I was just wondering, so I'm currently a member of two projects and two software allocations. One where I'm listed as a user, another one where I'm the manager as well. And the recent one as a manager has been kind of a new allocation. I was wondering that I used to use this run command, which is print quota, to I guess to get the summary of how many files we have, how much space we have left on the allocation. So but that still shows for one allocation. Is there something that I have to define in any configuration that now I'm part of two allocations that I want to see the quota for both of them, or
So
any suggestion on that?
Yeah, so are both allocations a sockeye allocation?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, what likely is happening is if you're a manager for one allocation, but you're not a member of sockeye on that allocation, meaning that you haven't been added to the actual allocation group, you'd need to be added to the actual sockeye allocation. So the print quota tool that is on sockeye will look at any allocation that you are a member of. And in your case, maybe it might be possible that you are just a member of the project and not necessarily the allocation. In some cases, if you were listed as a designated contact on an allocation, but you weren't marked as a user when we did the import, you were added to just the project, but not the allocation.
That would be, I think that would be correct, because I did check that, and recently, I think this morning, actually added my then to the allocation. I don't know if it takes some time to get into that, or is that should be done right away. Now I'm quite sure that I'm part of both allocations now.
Okay. In that case, it should happen very quickly. If you do not see access to that allocation through the print members or print quota function on sockeye, please open a ticket with ARC support and we can look into why you were not added to both allocations.
Thank you very much.
So I guess there's no more questions. So this concludes our session. Before we go, I want to point you towards a few resources that you may find useful as you begin using the Access Management Portal. First of all, the recording and the presentation deck of today's session will be shared. The recording will be uploaded to the YouTube channel, and the presentation deck will be emailed to you. So if you'd like to revisit any part of the walkthrough and share with your colleagues who couldn't attend, it will be available to you shortly. Next, we have detailed documentation on our Confluence website. This includes step-by-step instructions, screenshots, and explanations of the portal's features. If you're ever unsure about how to perform a task, you will be able to find clear guidance there. And finally, if you run into any issues, feel free to reach out to us at arc.support.ubc.ca, and our team is here to help. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today. We hope this new tool will be able to help you to streamline your workflow and free up more time for your research. And with that, we'll officially close the session and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.